Craig has been our point of contact in the development of this app. It was his idea in the first instance to get all this going, and he's worked with Polworth guys to get all this and done all the work. Because I was asked to do this thing for Radio Scotland this morning, and they said, how difficult has it been to develop this? And I kind of was almost at the stage of going, oh, because I haven't really done anything very much other than give some advice to Craig at times. So Craig's done all the work. And Craig's now going to help us to help Mr. Swinney to launch this app. The technology of it seems to be that when Mr. Swinney presses the buttons, the technology will immediately spread this app out. Right in saying this, guys? To all the people who and it might well be that people's phones start going beep. Some of the people who are in here, the responders who are in here, their phones might be going beep. If it doesn't, we've got a contingency plan. Some of the staff are going to go beep. So Craig, should I ask you to?
Yeah, so I can just take that, and basically the button in the middle there, just launch it, and then I'll ask you if you want to confirm, and that's fair.
That's it.
That's the button, and then that will be launched.
And do I get to say a few words after that?
You certainly can.
Right, so I'll just press this launch button here.
Yep.
For anyone that wants an image of this moment, here it is. Confirm. Launched. There you are. And it's off.
Yay!
Launch.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, whoa. So let me just say a few words just to mark this moment. First of all, can I just Kurt Colville's faux this morning on the radio about Gary. Those of you who have the misfortune to listen to Good Morning Scotland will regularly hear me on the radio being interviewed by the said Gary, Gary Robertson. And one of my dear friends said to me earlier, how on earth do you manage to cope with being constantly interrupted by that man on the radio? I gave them an explanation about my tolerance levels, but I also was able to share with them an experience I had about a year or so ago, where I was invited to address the annual dinner of Murray Chamber of Commerce away up in Elgin. It was Friday evening, and I went away up to do the address to the Chamber of Commerce dinner. And the chair of the evening, the compere, was Gary Robertson of Good Morning Scotland, who hails from the north of Scotland. And I opened my speech by saying, you may wonder why on earth I have come to Elgin on a Friday night to speak at the Chamber of Commerce dinner, with the possibility of being able to speak uninterrupted in front of Gary Robertson for 20 minutes. It's off a 200-mile round trip, which got him into silence for the 20 minutes and allowed me to say my piece. So it's any chipping of Gary Robertson I think is entirely justifiable, in my opinion. This is a fantastic venture. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to launch the app. We were just talking before about we're all sitting here with our mobile phones. I was down in London last night as part of the election campaign supporting the First Minister at the Leaders' Debate, and if you looked in the media room that was surrounding this, if there was one iPhone, there was 1,000 iPhones, everybody fiddling away with their iPhone. So we're all living our lives through iPhones and all the rest of it. So therefore, I can download an app which allows me to regulate my running practices, how far I've gone in the morning, how fast I was, how slow I was invariably. And if we've got all these apps for these purposes, we should have them for these essential services that Basics is providing in terms of the education and guidance to practitioners around the country. Cobble made the point, the fact that there's a lot of engagement with practitioners in rural and remote areas, and we face many challenges about how we can deploy effectively healthcare services, and particularly emergency healthcare services, in the rural and remote areas of Scotland. So therefore embracing technology of this type is a fantastic intervention to try to make sure we can achieve all of that potential and deploy services effectively. I think looking at what Basics is doing, just a couple of the
Thank you very much.